In Tim's recent blog post, he drew a board jack for his workbench, and in the video he mentioned there's probably several ways to do what he drew, and with his permission I thought I would show a couple of approaches. The first one is probably what I would consider the most efficient. I'm using John Tetro's workbench for this demonstration, and because the leg has a chamfer at the bottom and I want to reference this corner or this point where I've got the crossing guidelines, I actually put in a couple of guidelines. But I'm going to start by drawing a rectangle right in there. And so that's the outside face of the board jack. And instead of making that 3D right away, I'm going to approach drilling the holes in a slightly different manner than Tim did. I'm only going to put in a horizontal guideline this way, 2 inches down. And I'm going to use inferencing with the circle tool to center the hole. Let's see if I can get this in here so you can see this a little bit better. I'm going to tip that down so the background isn't a distraction. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go up here and feel along for the midpoint and wait till I get that little message. And then I can use inferencing to locate the center. So I don't need the vertical guideline. And we'll draw a 1-inch diameter circle, same as Tim did. And now, instead of copying the circle with its face, I'm going to delete the face. So I've selected it. I'm going to hit the delete key. And now I'm going to select the circle. And I'm going to copy that down using the move tool. I'm going to hit Control. It would be Option on the Mac. And I'm going to drag down a copy a little ways. I'm going to type 3, hit Enter. Now you can hit X and the number of copies, or because I'm using an extended keyboard, I'll use the asterisk key, and I'll type 10 just like Tim did. Notice, by the way, that I've already got a hole there. Now I've got a face with a bunch of holes. So now, instead of going along and running push-pull on each of the faces to drill the hole, I'm going to run push-pull on the board and give it some thickness. I think I'll just go back the distance of the first plank there. And now I've got that. Now I'm going to make the component at this stage, now that I've got it 3D. Since I don't have any other geometry, loose geometry in the model, it's okay to wait till this stage to make the component. So this could be our board jack. John's bench actually had a dead man here, and I've just hidden it for the time being. And then to put the dowel in, I'm going to do exactly what Tim did, except I'm going to do it on the back face. We'll just do it here. This is a good hole to use. And I'm going to come down here so that I can see through it. And we'll get the circle tool. And I'm going to hold the Shift key to lock the orientation so it doesn't try to change orientation onto the side of the cylinder. And then I'm going to hover over one of the endpoints for a couple of seconds and come down until I get this center in component. I can let go of Shift at this stage and drag out the circle. And let's go out 5 3/4 to make our dowel. And I didn't give it a name, but there's our dowel. So now there's the board jack, and of course I didn't hit enter, I canceled the creation of that component. There we go. So now we've got those two. One other thing I wanted to show you is that sometimes you do need to copy a hole, an existing hole. I'm going to draw something here and just put a hole in it. So, all right, there's an existing hole. And as Tim demonstrated, when you copy the hole, it doesn't divide the surface. We'll put in a couple of those. Okay. So you can see that when I select the face, I'm selecting the face over the hole as well as around the outside. And the same thing would apply on the bottom. So one way that, and Tim showed this, one way to cut the faces loose is to trace one of the line segments, and now you can select that and delete it. And while that works, that's not probably an efficient way to go about cutting loose all these faces. Sometimes, again, you may need to copy the hole. So another way to deal with that that's a lot less tedious would be to make a selection. In this case, what I've done is dragged a right to left selection box around where I want my two holes to be. So that's selected everything that was within the bounding box. And then I right click, choose intersect faces, and in this case with selection. And then these faces skinning the holes are cut free and they can be deleted. So that's a lot easier than going along and hitting every hole and tracing a line segment and zooming back and forth and all that. Again, as Tim said, and I've said many times, there's more than one way to do these things. Sometimes you just have to find the right approach. Anyway, give this some thought and try it out for yourself.